Hey guys, welcome to the CrossFit Grandview podcast. This is podcast number 38, and I am here with our level 2 coaches, Drake and Nick. The purpose of today's podcast, we're going to kind of dive into the 2022 qualifiers. We'll recap those, and really more so than doing that, it's really plans for 2023. We've been meeting a lot, talking about some improvements we can make to the level 2 program, and just really adding things coming off of the pandemic and having this new facility and a lot of ways we can really improve some of the programs that we have. So, first thing I want to just dive into a recap of the 2022 season and year. First and foremost, it was the first year post-pandemic, like the first new normal year. Do you guys think they're going to change? I wouldn't think they're going to change the format too much next year.
Pretty dialed in now.
Hopefully it's dialed in now, yeah.
Yeah, this seems like the way things are going to go. Like the last 3 years, it was changing every year. We went from like open directly to the games to like country winners and sanctionals to this seems like the new established path.
There's a clear-cut way to get to the next step now.
Yes. What I really love about the new season is the quarterfinals, because all of a sudden it went from, I think it was 2 seasons where unless you thought you had a chance of making the top 20 in the open, it was really like, you had nothing to really strive for except, improving your placement from the year before. So that quarterfinalist gives you something to hang your hat on. Now they have the new levels. I saw that. Like you're a level 8 or a 9 or a 10, depending on your open standing, which will be a great way to get people involved in local competitions. Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome. So you can, if I was going to organize a competition, I love like rope climbs and ring muscle ups. I might have like using your open, that score, like, hey, this is a level 8 and above competition. And then the intermediate division is like, level whatever it is to this.
Yeah.
I don't understand the levels too well yet, but once I study up on it, I think that's a really cool thing and cool tool to use. What I don't love about it right now is it's a lot of online qualifiers, and live competitions are what people really want to I think, get to. Yeah. Like that's what you want to hang your hat on, not bleeding out of your eyes in your gym to qualify for another session of that. And there's only 4 semifinals instead of, at one point I think we had like 8 regionals in the States. And that really, it was cool. I think that was the golden age of CrossFit competition in a lot of ways because, we had 5 gyms, I remember, in Columbus that had regional teams almost like every year for 2 or 3 years. So you'd have 5 gyms in the city going to it, and everyone had maybe an individual or two because you had 60 individuals with, less people even signed up. So the amount of people that could do that the web was cast a lot bigger. And you had 6 people on teams. So to make, to be the 8th best person in your gym, you're an alternate, So I really miss that. That being said, having the quarterfinals, I think, really makes up for a lot of that. Another thing about the semifinals is sort of like you qualify and then you just got to clear off a month of your schedule. Like, I know that would have been an issue for you this year. Yeah. You're like, I'm getting married, and you were in the mix of being on the team and possibly qualifying for a semifinal. It's like, dude, I don't know if I could do this because I'm going to be getting married and have a honeymoon planned.
In 4 weekends, I could have only done 1 of them. Yeah.
And Kiri, she's a firefighter. She's on a shift and a schedule. She's like, okay, I got to call a month off work. I don't know how much time I'm going to have. So I think, if I'm just speaking out loud, something I'd personally love to see from CrossFit is turn those semifinals into somewhat regional competitions, like spread them out around the country, and then you go to that one on this, we can see 6 months ahead of time, like if we're going to one, it's this one.
Yeah.
And we're fighting against these teams. Me saying this into a podcast that 200 people are going to hear means nothing. It's not going to get anything done. But if I just had to say something, like looking at it from the outside in, that's what I'd love to see. Just looking at how it ran in the gym, like this first year where we're not super squirrely about like COVID and boxes and staying distanced and not having people in the gym, I thought it ran really well. The Saturdays were really cool. In the group classes, it went well. And then in the afternoons, we filled up those heats. We had some really intense heats. Super fun, like watching you and James each week in the open sort of like be within 8 to 10 reps of each other, and trading workouts back and forth. That was a fun thing to watch. And everyone really did a great job, like judging people afterwards. And, the energy was really high, and I love that. I think that went really well. There's not a ton I would change about the way we ran the regular open. Everyone was able to get the workouts in. I thought that went really well. Moving into like the quarterfinals, we had people participate in every layer of the quarterfinal, the individual ones, team, and the masters and occupational. I want to give a shout out to Kiri, who did all of them. She did the open and then all 3 qualifiers, and was extremely close in, making that semifinal, particularly in the masters. The team, even though if you look at our placement, it doesn't show the real story. We took a penalty that I think was pretty ticky-tack on knee extension on the easiest move in the workout, and they wouldn't look at the other angle that really showed that I thought we met the standard well. It was just the angle of, we shot it from different angles. They were, they didn't want to look at the other angle. Gave us a 2-minute penalty on the workout we did the best at. We had 3 judges essentially watching that. They ran it pretty damn clean. And that's my case for live competitions, where if they didn't like the knee extension, not hip extension, you have a live judge and they don't like the way that looks. They say, hey, make sure you're locking your knees out. That was a no rep. You fix it, and then you lose 1 second instead of 2 minutes.
There you go.
On the easiest move of the workout. That being said, this podcast is not to bitch and complain about us not making the semifinal. We were on the bubble regardless. And when that all shook out, I went back and forth with CrossFit about like the knee extension thing. I'm like, I'm not going to argue this too hard, because the biggest thing is we need to put it so far out of reach that like you can take a penalty. I think Mayhem took the same penalty or something very similar on the same workout, and they're not worried about, getting shut out of semifinals. So we need to get better and not blame. I'm just saying I would like a live competition. So really, Kiri was close to, honestly, fairly close to the individual one. I think she was 80 spots out of that top 120 to make the semifinal. So she was top 200. When you look at the grand scheme of things, that's not that far off. That's a few seconds better here, little bit better on the ring muscle up workout, and she's right in the mix there. So it would have been pretty close. Overall, I think for this year, going into it, I think I had said before, I think we have about a 50% chance of having a semifinal team. And I think that prediction was close because we were right on the bubble. So I think it was, it was pretty realistic, and I think we had a pretty realistic assessment of where we were at. We had a lot of newer athletes this year who were hadn't done the open before, or like Nate, who made our team, I remember him doing the open in 2018. So it had been 4 years since he had done the open, and he's training a lot more consistently, and now we're starting to get some of those guys on track where next year, if we can implement the things we're going to talk about here, I think we're more so than saying, do we have a 50-50 chance? We're saying, like, we hope we go to that semifinal.
Yeah.
We're
looking for top 10 in the semifinal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, kind of looking into ahead to 2023. I put some notes here, so I'll keep kind of looking back at this just because I want to touch on all these points. Big thing, and I had a conversation with these guys before we jumped into the podcast, is I really want to work on rebuilding our training culture and getting it back to where it was pre-pandemic and what made us so successful for so long. So I think we had a regional team. Every year we had regionals, and then after that we had like the sanctional team. So we made it, essentially to that semifinal layer each year. What always made that work was training in that group, the accountability from that group, and the intensity, and the common goal and drive. So whether it was people were pushing more consistently, or you were just seeing like, hey, we got a team here. It's hard to tell if you got a team there when, the person comes out of the woodwork in the open and like, oh shoot, I didn't know so-and-so was that good at CrossFit, But if you see him training every day and you're like, man, you're awesome. I've never seen you climb a rope before. Like, you need to come on rope climb day, There's a lot of things that training in that group and that accountability really adds to it. And, I take a lot of personal responsibility for that getting off the rails a little bit. I was a little soft on, letting people train outside of that group and do things like that. And, a little later in the podcast, I'll talk about, how and why I want to kind of wrangle that back in. But we want to create a class and intensity that really can't be matched training alone. When you're training by yourself, it's tough to get geared up the same way you will when you're training with like 5 or 6 different people, some of which are going to push you or beat you on any given day. You're training with a really good group, you might win one day, you might not win one day. There's always going to be someone to learn something off of too. I think a huge benefit that is not spoken about in the group, I got it from training in CrossFit. I was actually boxing last night, sparring, and I get it from boxing. Literally just seeing someone in person and watching the way they move, you pick up one little trick. Oh shoot, that'll work for my body. It's something very subtle that's not talked about. And when you train in that group, you see a move or a thing that someone does, and you can pick it up and implement it. And it's impossible to do that when you're training by yourself. So a big thing is really truly understanding where you stack up the other 11 months out of the year. When you're training in that group, you get real-time feedback on like how you're doing. I'll use my boxing analogy. If I'm in there sparring with 5 or 6 guys at night and I'm winning the rounds, I feel good. I'm like, okay, I'm doing well. If I'm losing the rounds, I kind of know like I have some things to work on. If I'm hitting the bag in my basement, I can just always pat myself on the back. I think I'm doing good. It's different. And I would equate it to something very similar to that. And then Saturday afternoons, we want to bring that back. Not this week, we're going to start next week. I believe it's May 7th.
Yep.
So Saturday afternoon training. Saturday morning or afternoon training has always been a key part of almost any successful training program. Getting that big group together, training together, and making that like a really hard competitive day. Whether we go back to the days of our old Rogue days with Graham, Dan Bailey, Dave Ulmer, Our team, I mean, we had one day where we had 20 athletes who were all regional grid, blah, blah, athletes training at one time. Those days, like, press diamonds out. Those are huge. So getting that back going is a big thing. I'm going to skip ahead to some other things. I'm going to kind of come back up. Another thing is why we want people to train in the group. We can't help you unless you're training with us. I'll kind of go into an analogy really quick that I heard, and I'm not trying to get political here because I don't care about the politics of either state, but it's something I heard that reminds me of what I really personally let happen at the gym is, during the pandemic and some things, there was a huge mass exodus out of California into Texas. And people moved to Texas to escape, whether it was taxes or politics or things going on in California. But then the people in Texas started getting upset because they brought those politics, those things to Texas and started to create the same issues that were back where they were at home. Why I'm using that as an analogy is people leaving or moving from old gyms coming here because they had heard maybe, we have a competitive track record and things like that. But then saying, well, I worked out in the corner at my old gym. I actually prefer that. Then doing that, naysaying what we're trying to build and basically bringing California to Texas at our gym and really starting to just chew mouse holes in the competitive culture of what we built for 10, 12 years. So that's another reason we want you to join the group.
I mean, and that was me. When I first came to this gym, I came to this gym because I was told this was the competition gym. Then I had to get into L2, so I trained by myself. And then I'm used to it, and I don't know what it's like to train as a group. And so I just became like monotonous of just coming in to check off boxes and just doing what I needed to do. Now, training in the group, it's I come to hang out. And I stay longer at the gym because I want to hang out with my friends in that group. And that just makes training not like something I have to do, but something that I want to do every day.
I appreciate you jumping in and saying that. And I mean, a great example of where I'm seeing it work really well, who's been super consistent, is our Power Hour coach, Brad, where he started and where he's at already. He had never done CrossFit, I think 2 months ago. And, we're going to see him in the skills class today, rattling off 6 ring muscle ups. Before we know it, he's going to be snatching mid 200s and, he's going to be on his way.
Yeah.
And he's just staying very diligent and consistent to that class. And it's, his trajectory is just flying up.
I think it's hard too for a lot of people. Like, for myself, I am more comfortable training alone because I've always been comfortable being in training alone. And I get a little bit nervous when we're about to start a group workout or like we're in a huge, either it's a big class or whatever. But I always end up having a really good time when the class is over and we're just shooting the shit with everybody after the workout and how that workout went and stuff. And so even if you're more of like a introvert, try to come to class because you'll probably have a really good time. I always do, even when I get nervous about going to bigger classes, I always end up having a good time with everybody there.
So Nick, I would also think, your goal is, you've got some pretty big audacious goals. Do you think that would help with competition jitters too?
Yeah.
If you're working out in the corner of a gym all by yourself, and then
we found that out this year. We found that out that working out the whole year by myself, when I have to go then do an open workout, it sucks because then you have no idea how you're going to stack up. You have no idea what's going to happen. And if you're working out with a group of folks, you get that real-time feedback and you kind of know, like going into the open, it's like, well, shit, I'm I know how I'm gonna do in a 15-minute box jump over wall walk and dumbbell snatch workout. When I had no idea last year.
And you're going to get some stuff thrown on your plate that you're not going to be super comfortable with. Whereas if you have an app, like, yeah, I'm skipping the ring muscle up work today. You know, like, I don't like that move. It doesn't feel good to me. And then you can't feel maybe what you're doing, you know? Whereas if, Drake, you're a really good coach with muscle ups, you've got like even a whole program that you've got and that you're killing it with people with. If they're like, hey, you know, I don't know what I'm doing, and Drake busts out his phone, he's like, okay, check this out. I've seen you do it with people. Okay, here's what we're doing each time. And then, you know, now I'm going to talk about it. You know, we're working on that skill for 12 weeks every Tuesday, diligently. Like, people are going to start and they're going to finish that 12-week cycle. They're going to be way better at that move. We can't help you unless you're doing that. So that's another reason to do it. What else do I have? Last thing too, I mean, if you guys can't tell, I'm a businessman too. I didn't build a 650 member gym and buy the building because I'm not. It doesn't reflect real well on the business if I've got, you know, a handful of people undermining what we're trying to do. Okay. I love to use analogies because I think sometimes it helps people really put things into perspective. So if you brought in, say, Moe's Southwest Grill burrito into Chipotle because they don't have a dine-in option, you sit it down, or you like to sit inside Chipotle and you just start eating that, and you do that every day. It doesn't reflect well on that business. Now, if they had some person maybe doing that, they might even let it slide for a little while. If all of a sudden 5, 6 people from Moe's started coming in and setting their burritos down and eating burritos there, they're we're gonna put a sign on the door that says, you can't come and do this, okay? Now it's a little bit more nuanced with our gym. We have training programs, we also have a training facility, and we allow open gym. So it's a little bit more nuanced than that. That being said, I think our gym, what I want to see, if you want to use our gym for equipment and things like that, probably push, you know, if you're, we have a lot of people over on the barbell side who do like weightlifting programs, or if you're a competitive athlete and you have some other stuff you want to work on, go on over to that barbell side. One thing we're not really going to tolerate anymore, and I'm personally not going to tolerate anymore, is using another stock program, you know, whether it's Invictus, CompTrain, Frazier's, Froning's, they're all phenomenal. They're, you know, cutting edge. These guys don't have, you know, these popular programs for no reason. Like, they're awesome. And I'm not saying the stuff that we're putting together is better or worse, but what it is it's proprietary to our facility, and it's built for you guys. We're building this, like, we've been working on this, and we're building this muscle up piece to what we've got coming up because it was an area for opportunity for us to grow in general. It was something we could all get better at when we cycled through these. We're like, okay, this is an area for us to get better as a gym. We fix that hole, boom, we've got people going to semifinals. You know, we've seen that. So that's not something we're going to get from another program. Again, I'm not saying that what we're putting together is better, but it's for us. And again, and it reflects poorly on my business. If people walk in, they're like, what's my path to becoming a good athlete? How can you guys help me? Well, what you do is you sign up and you go to that guy in the corner who's got the app over there and you ask him what he's doing, and then you guys form a group over there. That's not how we do things, and it's not how we're going to do things. And if you're listening to this, I'm going to look you in the eye and I'm going to tell you, this is not the best place, and there's probably a better fit for you. with a gym if that's what you plan on and intend on doing. When I see people that this is an issue with, it's not a lot. It's like 6 people out of 650 members that we have. I'm going to address it, and we're either going to get on board or we're going to go ahead and we're going to find a gym that's a better fit. And I have no hard feelings towards you. It just undermines what we're trying to do as a crew, okay? And the only way for us to all do well, have these teams, build this dynasty that we had back up, is for us to all row in the same direction. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I'll kind of get to what we're doing from a training perspective that I think is really cool, okay? So I know, I've heard a couple rumblings like the last couple weeks, well, this isn't gonna get me to what X level. It's not. It's a post-open, have fun workouts. There is a purpose, and actually a lot of it kind of comes, we're squatting and snatching. There's a lot of similarities, but it was a deload. You guys just competed. If you're burning white hot a week or two after you competed and you put your whole energy in the year, you were going to be fried in 12 months. So it's a slow build back. I'm going to just talk about some points, but I'll really get into, a big thing that I think will help you guys wrap your head around it. We're all collaboratively going to work on this training together. So this is going to be a team, like one of those comp train teams, like Invictus. We have a team of people that we're working on it. The coaches, Kiri, she couldn't be here. We're all going to be working on this together. I'm going to be leading the charge early on, and then these guys will slowly be filling in the actual WODs and percentages and things like that as we go, okay? So I'm going to be working with them, but I'm collaboratively going to be working with these guys throughout the process, and this is all going to be a team effort. So our post-open cycle starts Monday. We're going to be squatting, snatching on Mondays. Tuesdays, we're doing the muscle ups and working on gymnastics and power cleans. So it's technique work on the Olympic lifts. Wednesday, we're pressing, really working hard on conditioning. Thursday, we're maintaining that skills day. It's been a huge hit. That's been awesome. We're going to keep that going. That is a huge bridge for people, I think, to go from like recreational CrossFitter to like a competitive CrossFitter. So I really like that rather than like like an active rest day. Yeah. Friday, we're back squatting, and then we're going to hit heavy Olympic lifts on Friday, rotating between a snatch and a clean, doing complexes, building to something heavy. Saturday, we're doing speed deadlifts, and then we're doing, we have a WOD and then a team option as well, and we're going to be getting back together and doing those big team workouts and things like that on Saturday. And some of it will be individual as well, but really hanging out for a couple hours and hammering skills. The strength cycles, I'm going to detail all of that when I'm going to post this cycle, probably before this even drops, in our private members group. We're also going to be starting a competitors private members group. It's not just for level 2. We had a lot of Festivus games, all levels people, a lot of all levels who like to do the open. And it's just going to detail like what we're doing competition-wise. So we're going to these local competitions. We're gearing up for this. But a lot of it will be focused around level 2 because most of the people doing that class have the intent on competing at a higher level. Another thing that we're adding in is weakness track or double day work. So if you have some higher aspirations, things like individually competing at a semifinal level, making a CrossFit Games, these things will be options of doing double days. As we keep progressing through this. So one thing is pick your weakness track and try and work on it, because right away we're going to be doing some testing. Like I have like a mile test, if running's an issue with you, then you're going to be using percentages. Same thing with rowing, biking, some of the other stuff. The Olympic weightlifting and the gymnastics is built into the class. you're going to have shoulder surgery if you do a lot of extra gymnastics works outside of what we're doing in class. We do have one day outside of class where I have a gymnastics thing, but we're hammering like those skills and drills to get you guys very rock solid with all those gymnastics and Olympic weightlifting skills. Things you can expect, and I'm trying not to just hog the mic, but I'm on a roll here. The competitors private group, more consistent weekly and even daily communication on the training cycles. I'll be doing a lot of that early on, and then these guys will start to bring that up and be competing with you through videos, through tips, through, I have a lot of things that I learned in a competitors course through CrossFit that talk about like game day tips for people, like fuel, how to warm up, not sit there. You don't want to do a 30-minute EMOM of snatches before you do a workout and you've got 4 workouts, like how to save your energy. We'll be giving these tips consistently leading into the open, so we have that stuff dialed in after the open when we're going to semis. It's going to be a year-long process. One thing I'm putting on the table as well, if you have some goals and just outside of just going to class, you don't know how to get there, I'm going to open this up for myself. And then again, later on, I really want to have these guys take on this role more and more. But you can schedule an appointment with me. We can sit down for 30 minutes, set goals, talk about areas for improvement, how to use the programming, how maybe myself or one of the coaches can do some little bit of individual design and get you there. But even look at big picture things like your consistency in training throughout a year, your sleep, your body composition. A lot of those factors are just as important as, you know, the nuances of the percentages of the training cycle. You would be surprised at how much stimulus you need if you're doing all the right things outside of it to make some pretty serious gains. If you're sleeping well, you're happy, you feel really good, you're a runaway train when you're training. If all that stuff's jacked up, I mean, you can have, Dave Castro could program for you knowing what the events are for the games, and you're not going to have a chance. So that's something that, over the 15, almost 20 years now, I've been doing some training and things like that. I'm pretty good now at looking at the big picture. I've seen a lot of athletes go through it. I've seen people who are really successful, get to the games, win it, teams that have done it, other athletes that we've had. And I can zoom out and help you guys fill in some of those gaps on big picture stuff, even more so than, just your day-to-day, like Olympic weightlifting technique and stuff like that. So goals for 2023. Here, I put 2. I think this is the first time you guys are hearing this. So more participation in the open. I'll raise my hand right away. I didn't do the open this year. I think I've done out of 12, 9 or 10 of them, and I didn't do it. I need to step up and do it each year that I'm physically capable of. I had a little shoulder injury, stressed out from, I have excuses. They're all kind of invalid. I wouldn't have done real well, but step up and put myself out there and do it. So I want to be one of those guys next year, even if I'm not in a great place training-wise, go in there, put myself out there and do it. We had a little over, I think, 100 people do it, but I have a buddy in Michigan, they had 120 out of 170 members. I think our CrossFit side has 500 or so. There's no reason we shouldn't have 150, 200 members just participating. I'm not trying to force anyone into it if they don't want to do it, but have fun. I'd love to see some more participation. More quarterfinalists. I think we had the most in the state, and I think we had 10 to 15 watch, Sign up and do it. Even if you don't want to do the quarterfinals, sign up and do it. I want to have the most quarterfinalists in the world, and I know we can because I know who we have at our gym. I just look around, I'm like, we have the most quarterfinalists in the world. I've been to some of these big gyms like CNFE and places like that, and they have bigger names and they've got, 5 or 6 tip of the spear guys. I have never seen a gym to this day that touches our top to bottom talent level at like that quarterfinal level. Nowhere. And I want to blow that out of the water. I think we could have 40, 50 quarterfinalists. I think that would be so fun for the gym. Obviously, a semifinals team. We were right on the bubble this year. I want to put that out of doubt next year. Some of it we'll have to see who we're working with in the fall and who's down to train and go for it. But we'll kind of meet that in a couple months and see who's into it and who wants to do it and see if we want to revise how we want to do that, if we want to like separate 2 teams and do some things like that. We've done that in the past. We just need to keep talking about that and see how we might want to go about doing that. And then the biggest goal for 2023 that I really want to see happen, especially with everything COVID and everything settling into how I think things in the rhythm are going to be, have a ton of fun training together, build a community and a group that you take pride in, build each other up, compete together more so than against each other. A lot of what I think the getting on the apps and the things like that, I think that bothers me is it creates a feeling that people are trying to get a competitive advantage, not so much against the field, but against each other in the gym. Train together, build each other up, and you guys, iron sharpens iron, okay? And that's what we want to create in our gym. Most competitions now, they're team-based. Like the local ones and all of them, they're all team-based. Very rarely do you even see individual ones. Let's get some teams out there. I know you guys are competing on a team here, survival games. More of that, okay? More of that. We got a guys team, we got a girls team. Like, let's keep doing that, keep building each other up. I think you're gonna find the programming that we're putting together very detail-oriented, very robust. It's all gonna make sense. What I ask is for you to jump on board, try it. If you can't make the times that we have, we have 3 level 2 times during the day and the Saturday, do our program on your own and jump in when you can. Do our program in open gym. If our program isn't a good fit or you don't enjoy doing that, our gym is and your goal is like competing in the CrossFit Games, and our coaches can't help you, I can't help you, we can't design something for you. Our gym is not going to be the best fit for you moving forward, and I can't be any more clear about that. And if you want to have a conversation with me, please send me an email. I'd love to chat about it and explain more about why I feel really strongly about that. But I'm super stoked for this, and I think we are going to build back better than we've ever been before. We have probably the coolest CrossFit facility now that I've ever seen. I've been told that by like a lot of 10-year CrossFit, people who've traveled the country and on work. And now it's just time to match it with our teams and our programs. So I'm looking forward to it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'll catch you on the next one.